Afternoon. Well, I'm here out in my outside workspace studio. It's not the ceramics room. It's the outside studio space where we do all kinds of different things. And today we're doing something which may be kind of nutty. So I have an RV, and it's an older one, and it has roof vents, just like this. And the roof vent, I had a problem with my roof vent, and I didn't know I had a problem with my roof vent till I finally noticed that there was mold growing out of the side rim of it. Took the cover piece off, and black mold, horrible stuff, rotted wood, and an awful lot of work to fix it. And the reason it was like that is because the old skylight, just like, not just like this one, but similar to this one, had a plastic rim, which I think most of you guys are familiar with these and how these work. Now this is a metal one, and this is great. This is an upgrade to what I had before, which was plastic, so the metal rim won't break and leak. So these went bad, the plastic cracked, it leaked in there, it caused the screws to rot, the screws came loose, more water got in, you know, that whole thing. Anyway, this is great, but the problem with this is it's got a plastic lid. And as we all know who live here in the Southwest, this plastic is not very quality. And in fact, it's really shit. So I'm just concerned that I'm doing all this work and I'll be doing it all again in 2 or 3 years after this cracks. Now I go to very hot places, and we go to the desert. It's very hot here a lot of the time, and these lids take quite a bit of abuse. That said, they're also made with the wrong kind of plastic. They're made to wear out, which is just not right. So what I'm going to do, and everyone will probably disagree with this, and it may not work, but I'm going to try to do it anyway, is I'm going to try to put a layer of fiberglass on top of this brand new vent to extend the life of it. And that's what we're doing. So, you know, my first thought, the polyester resin, which is what I'm going to use, which is what I have, will melt the plastic, and it's a very big concern. Well, I put a little bit of polyester resin on here, and it's done nothing. It's done more than what I thought it would do. In fact, it's actually stuck to the plastic. So I'm thinking, okay, that's a good sign. So we're going to go ahead and use some chop strand matte fiberglass on here. We're going to put it on with a light coat of resin, and we'll probably do 1 coat of chop strand matte so it'll formulate and do all the curves, and then maybe some areas of regular mesh, light grade fiber. I don't even know what the name of it, but basically not the chop strand to give it strength. And probably put some color in there, put a black or something that will be able to reduce the duration of sun damage if there's any sun getting through it. So, like I say, we're playing with this. We're trying to make something. We're trying to make these roof vents last 10 years, not 3. So, and I don't want to spend $500 on a simple roof vent. It's not a power vent. It's not a fan vent. It's just a vent for an inexpensive camper. So, I don't want to spend a lot of money on it. I don't want to do this again next year, year after. So anyway, we're going to try this, and hang on, and here we go for the ride on this, and we'll see if it works. Worst case scenario, I'm out $80. Best case scenario, I end up with an even better vent that's stiffer, so over time it will still stay tight to the vent itself. Because one of the problems I have with the old vent, it really wasn't airtight anymore, because it does all the grabbing right here in the middle, and it just, yeah. Anyway, if you've ever played with these vents, if you guys have an RV, you know what this is all about. So stick with me and let me make the mistakes and see if this actually is an easy upgrade. Because doing resin work is really not that hard, and if you haven't tried it yet, play around with a few things, get used to it, and tackle this yourself. If this works, I also have a small toy hauler with 3 of these guys on there, and they're starting to show signs of cracking. So I'm thinking I could probably do that to those vents in place and extend the life of those vents maybe eternally. Who knows? The mechanisms aren't bad. the vent inside, the plastic inside isn't bad. So if I can keep the vents on them, then we'll have a lot longer use out of it. Anyway, thanks for letting me bug you. Come back and, or we'll be back. Probably do this tomorrow. It's getting dark now, and well, it's still 80 degrees. But I have to go buy a new can of resin. This has been on the shelf for a while. You can't use this resin when you can, but you shouldn't use the resin if it gets over a year old, they say. And you still have to store it correctly, all that stuff. So anyway, I'm not here to make a resin or a fiberglassing specific video. There are lots of great videos out there. I learned all my fiberglassing knowledge from watching shows on the internet. All right, hang on, or stand by. Okay, welcome back. We're working on the skylight again. We're going to put a layer of resin on this skylight because we want the skylight to last a lot longer than normal. So I've gone ahead and scuffed the surface a little bit, even though the test sample we did yesterday with the resin, a couple of drops there, seems to be really stuck to this brand new skylight for the RV harder. So we're going to put a layer of resin on this with fiber. And we're going to start out with some chop strand mat, and it's really the thinnest stuff you could get because I want it to bend a lot around these. We're using a polyester resin, or we're using the Fiberlay P1600, Fiberlay P1600. There we go. And of course, I don't get any money for this, but I've been using this for all kinds of builds and stuff around the studio. Fiberglassing is one of those things that it's like welding. You can do so many things with it. It's mind-boggling. So many different repairs, so many different upgrades, whether it be into the house, to the RV, building a thing. It's almost as good as 3D printing in a lot of ways, if not better. Anyway, according to this, we are putting is it 1 pint. Divide that in 4, so it's 4 ounces. And we're supposed to put 3/4 of this in NPK. So NPK is the catalyst that you add to this resin to set it off. And when you add the right amount, depending on the heat of the day or the heat in the area, it makes a big difference how hot it is. If it's really hot, this stuff can go off pretty quick. So you don't want to mix too much. You want to mix the right amount. Now, we're not adding any fillers. We're not adding too much to this at this time because this is a laminating resin, and we're going to be adding more than 1 layer to this. We're going to have, my current plan is to have 1 layer of chop strand mat and then 1 layer of just cloth. Now, I don't really care what it looks like. It's going to be up on the roof. I don't have to see it. I'm going to add a little bit of color in it, which is black. And you just have to, just a little bit in there, it'll go. Because this is up in the bed area, and half the time I don't want light coming in the morning when I'm trying to sleep anyway. So I'm going to put a little bit of color on there, get the light penetration down as well. I'm also thinking that having the color in there will slow the light penetration down through the resin and may even make it last longer. I don't know. Things I'm theorizing without knowing for sure. We're outside in an open environment, so the fumes are blowing through. We got a breeze today. We're not really worried about dust to the fibers because we got a breeze blowing through. We're going to be careful. So we got the resin. We got our MEK. Where's our little bottle of MEK? So methyl ethyl ketone peroxide, MEK. Takes very little of this stuff to set this stuff off. And lots of websites out there, lots of shows on doing fiberglass and resin work. That's where I learned how to do what I know how to do with this. So that made me dangerous, I guess you would say. This is not a, let me pour this. There we go. I don't have to worry about what I'm doing here because this isn't ever going to hurt anyone. There's no danger in this. I'm not building anything to really worry about, you know, not making a boat. Never gonna, if it delaminates, it might fly off, who cares? Not really gonna hurt anything. So when I get this all done, I'm gonna give it a nice pull test to see if it actually wants to pull up from this. And if it does, then we'll just put some rivets in there and that should just solve the problem. Okay, here's our resin now. We should have 15 to 20 minutes of working time with this. And we want to make sure we get everything stirred up, get all the resin, don't have any non-mixed areas, something in there with, you know, without the mix of the catalyst. That would be bad. Alright, we're going to just set this here. It's going to stick. Now I'm just using a regular old Home Depot brush to do this. I'm going to start on one side, I'm going to work my way around, put a coat on to begin with. And let's, we're really hoping that this doesn't melt the plastic, even though the test said it wouldn't. But, you know, things happen. Put it on, man. I was just thinking I should have saturated these ahead of time and then put them in place. Let's see if that works up here. Because one thing about chop strand mat is that it will, once the ingredients start to work on the chop strand, it melts it a little bit, and so it will conform to different surfaces easier. So if you can get some product in there, get some resin in there to begin with, and then don't wait too long and then try to set it where you expect it to go. Like that. You're trying to avoid too many of the hairs getting stuck to you. Oh, that's working out real well. So it will, in a few minutes, bend this corner a little better. There we go. And it does a better job in terms of bending corners than the regular mat does. So you want to get this resin in there to a certain extent. You want to pull it down a little bit. Alright. Alright. So we're trying to make sure there's not too many bubbles underneath. Although in this particular instance, I'm not really sure how big of a deal that is. Whether there's a lot of air pockets or not, because this is, like I say, it's not a boat. You don't really need it to be perfect. I'm going to try to make this overlap. This time we're going to just try to coat it in place, which works out to a certain extent. Now, I didn't mix up a lot of resin because I don't know how long it's going to take. And the more resin you mix up, the more you put in a bucket, the faster it will go off. It will actually, as it chemically does its thing, it will set itself off. So you got to be careful about how much resin you mix up. And this stuff isn't free. It's like $80 for a gallon now, I think it is. Or I mean, I didn't even look when I went and bought it yesterday. And you don't want to have too much of it sitting around because it will go bad on the shelf. So you really only want to buy as much as you need at any given time. There we go. See that bending the corners as it gets a little murkier, which is nice. You got to keep working it. You got to keep playing with it. I may just use only chop strand on this because I don't really see how the regular cloth is going to bend the corners too well. So that may be a thing. That may be a thing. Let's go ahead and put one more. No, let's turn. So we're going to just keep doing this, chasing the bunny around the room, as it were. So what do we got? We're 80 degrees here today, so it's a little bit above its ideal temperature, and that's 80 degrees inside the canopy here. Tricky stuff. So I'm thinking, like I say, I've got my toy hauler my little 17-foot toy hauler that also has vents, and those vents are already showing signs of problems in the plastic. Put this on here. So I'm probably going to try to do this as an in-place upgrade for those vents, since they're not to the point of where they're bad, but they're gonna be within a year. They're starting to show cracks in the upper plastic around these edges because they make them that way. They purposely make them so they'll wear out. I'm also noticing on those vents up there that around the screw holes, that the original installation, which I'm pretty sure these are replacements, but they're starting to show the caulking on that particular vent is going bad. So the caulking work is going to need some work as well. Well, so far this is working really well, and I didn't mix up too much resin, and it's not getting away from me. Now this is a polyester laminating resin, and I did not add wax to this, so I can keep layering on more product on top of this for quite a while, being careful not to make it too thick too quickly because I don't want it to get really hot. In fact, I'm kind of doing this lightly so that as it thermally reacts, it doesn't melt everything underneath it. So that's why we didn't just go to town on it, you know. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna, progress slowly around here. I guess I should have put a coat down over here. Okay. Alright, so this time I tried to make sure that this webbing hung down a little bit so I can trim it later. Make sure all that stuff's poked in. And then we're going to turn and move further. Yeah. So I bet it looks terrible, which is fine. Because like I said, this is up on the roof, and very few people get to see this. But if it saves me a lot of money down the road and a lot of hassle, I don't really worry about the money so much as I do about the hassle. Oh, and by the way, make sure you wear your grubby clothes when you do this. this stuff will not wash out. It is a permanent additive to your clothing. To say the least. Alright, we're going to have to run over and make some more resin here in a minute. We're trying to get this started here. So, I can't remember if it's the MPK or the resin itself or the combination of the two that is designed to actually melt this material just a little bit so that it bonds, so that the resin bonds with the material, bonds with the base, bonds with everything, you know, and becomes, ideally when you're doing big resin layups, you know, like making a boat or making a car body or race car frame or not frame, cover. The idea is that all of this, you know, becomes one solid thing. I'm going to get it to come around this corner here a little bit. So, and it doesn't melt hyper quickly. Sometimes you got to wait a minute and work it. The trick is not to work it so much that you're spending, that anyway, don't work it so much that it tears itself apart. I'm not so happy that I'm wasting so much of this material here. I'm going to try to pull this up a little bit and see if that's okay. I want to just barely to overhang this edge. It's a sticky wicket. Come on, just barely, I said. There we go. I had it hanging on there kind of low. It's still, now it's too high. All right, let's time to make some more. Doesn't that look exciting? All right, so what I'm doing is I have always got to have gloves on. You don't really want this stuff touching your skin. And I don't know if anyone's ever said it, but to clean up with this, you use acetone. And acetone should never get on your hands as well. I see a lot of people doing work with acetone online, and apparently it's really a toxic thing, so don't do it. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I know. All right, so we have our bucket that we pour our pure resin in because it has the ounce measurement on there, and then we know how much MPK to put in there. Now this time we're going to go with 8. Okay, and that's pretty much an empty bucket. This stuff's so expensive, you do want to use all of it. At least on, I want to use all of it. I'm sure if you're making a boat where you're using 55-gallon drums of this stuff, all right. So now we're taking a big risk. Not a big risk. We're using 8 ounces now. Set this aside. And that means we're going to be doubling our MPK. All right. And for what this is, it's kind of funny to me that they give such an imprecise way to measure the amount you put in. If you read the side, it's like, you know, a teaspoon per pint. Okay. But you don't want to use a whole pint unless you're doing a big thing, because a pint's a lot. A pint's a lot. Anyway, make sure I get this mixed right. Also, if you pour fresh resin into a used resin container, it's going to go off a lot quicker because the MPK that's already in there and the temperature that the other resin's at is already accelerating. It will make this resin go off at a slightly faster rate, which is okay because we're gonna use this up pretty quick. All right, or at least that's the idea.